Hey guys, welcome back to Ezra review again. And on today's review, I want to talk about this movie called Thunderbolts. Which is the recent MCU movie. Before we get Fantastic Four. We supposedly I guess like a fresh new world for the MCU. At least on that next movie. But in this one, I gotta be honest, man. I think this is like obviously this is like the MCU version of Suicide Squad. And honestly, I don't really have a huge hype enough to seeing this movie. Granted, like the MCU is kind of like dying. Wasn't kind of like it's already dying down for a long time. Ever since Endgame. And I rarely feel any hype for any MCU movie except more for Spider-Man No Way Home. But that's because there is a nostalgia involved. So for Thunderbolts, I was actually consider skipping it, but I thought that, well, you know what, I'm just gonna watch it anyway. I got nothing better to do, so I'm like, okay, fine, let's just go ahead and watch this movie. And honestly, this is like a really fun movie, and I think this movie is way better than Brave New World, because I remember watching Captain America Brave New World, and then when I leave the theaters, I barely remembers anything about that movie. My mind just went blank, and I was like, okay, well, literally after leaving the theaters, I'm like, okay, well, that was a bad movie because clearly I did not remember any single thing about that movies. But I think Thunderbolts is different, because I got this feeling that I want to talk about certain things in my review. What I think is that this movie could have been way better. Because I think it doesn't really use its full plot and idea. Super well, because I think the idea for like this I would say this mental health Avengers, or like mental health MCU characters, are actually a pretty neat idea, especially the way they explored that in the movie. And I don't think they didn't really reach to its full potential. But yeah, so I think we're gonna talk about the positive first, before I get to the negative stuff. And then like kind of like teasing some of the post-credit stuff, which I think is like one of the better MCU post-credit stuff. But anyway, I think for the positive aspect about the movie, I think the characters itself, I did not expect this, but I actually care about the characters, which is wow. Because it's been a long time since I care for any MCU characters. And honestly, I went into this movie with low expectation, and I just wish that this could be a fun MCU movie. And it was fun. It was actually kind of engaging in a way. Not entirely engaging, but it was kind of engaging. And that's saying something, man, compared to the previous MCU movies. And for the characters conflict and the chemistry between all of them, I think they have a good chemistry. Because I believe that this group of misfits people will work together really, really well. And I actually believe that. And I think there is a heart to the movie as well. Especially Florence Pugh's character, Yelena. Because I think Yelena is like a good addition to the MCU. But I don't really look up her characters to be like, oh, that's special. Because obviously Scarlett Johansson is gonna be the Black Widow. But I don't think I don't think in this movie I actually like Yelena's character a lot, because she is the main star about the movie. And I think she is indeed the heart in the movie itself. And I think she has many great moments, especially with her characters, especially with her dark past, and how the movie kind of like tackles that. Like I really, really enjoy that. I think she is indeed the best character in the movie. Because the rest of them are just okay. I like John Walker, played by Wyatt Russell, and I also like Hannah Johnkamen's character Ghost. And I guess David Harbour as Red Guardian and Sebastianstan as the Winter Soldier are also good. But again, Yelena is the main star, and I think John Walker is like the other character that I think they are kind of exploring this movie, especially with his mental health problem. That I think is like, yeah, I think it was kind of engaging. And yeah, I think because of that, I like all the characters. And especially Taskmaster. What an important character in this movie. Like, holy shit, man. But yeah, besides the character, I think the action sequence are pretty fun, to watch. I think especially in the I think in the vault sequence in the movie, I think that's like the best action sequence. And it's been a while since I saw like a MCU fighting sequence that I thought that, oh, that's a pretty good fighting sequence. And this movie had several of that, even though I don't think it's enough, because like every single time it starts, it's like, yeah, I think it's a well choreographed sequence, with some practical stunts as well, which I really appreciate. It doesn't really involve like too many CGI, and of course like the fight sequence used like I'm assuming wire stunts as well, because people are getting flinged left to right, but yeah, it's pretty grounded, and I think it's a breath of fresh air, and I enjoy that, and I kind of wish there is more of that, to be honest with you guys, but yeah, I guess besides that, I think I also praised the conflict about this movie, where it's not exactly I guess it's not exactly a world-ending conflict, I mean, I guess it's kind of like that in the end, but it's not exactly a big Avengers level threat, I guess, I don't know, I'm kind of conflicted with describing the villain, because like the villain is pretty powerful, and it could be an Avengers level threat, but at the same time, it does deal with a grounded approach with the characters that I quite like, so I don't know, I'm kind of 50-50 describing the conflict about the movie, but I quite enjoyed that, for what it is, but getting to the negative sides about the movie, like I said before, I kind of wish there's a bit more action sequence, because there is a good chunk about this movie where there's a bunch of characters talking, there's a bunch of MCU jokes, obviously, which is getting old, but and I kind of wish there is some more action sequence with the characters, because I feel the way they start the movie, especially when the Thunderbolts actually met, for the first time, they have a really fun action sequence, and I was expecting more of that, but we didn't really get that, and I think it also does take a long time before all the members of the Thunderbolts actually got together, and I feel like the movie spent too much time on the vault sequence, and I feel like, okay, I mean, it's kind of fun, but it's also like, can we like go outside, go like a different location for a while, and then having all the Thunderbolts like teaming up, and yeah, it just took a while to get all the members together, so it kind of sucks, but at the same time, I do think it was kind of fun to see the characters like interacting with one another, and it was like, yeah, I quite enjoyed that, so I guess there's that, and I will say, I kind of wish there is a scene where they explore more of the characters' mental health, because they do explore the mental health of, Yelena's characters, and then Bob's character played by Lewis Pullman, and again, kind of John Walker, Wyatt Russell's character as U.S. agent, they kind of like touch upon his mental problems, his family problem as well, which I quite like that. But the other character just basically didn't really get anything, like hannahjohnkamen character Ghost, like she barely get anything from the storyline, I mean, she was there, but she barely have any like mental conflict like the other characters, same thing with the David Harbour's character, Red Guardian, and also Sebastianstan character, the Winter Soldiers, because I feel like there is a way for all of them to have this mental health sequence in the movie, because Yelena does go over that herself, which I think is pretty good, and I was expecting to see the other member to go to like similar stuff, where they have to confront their dark past and try to overcome that, and by teaming up together, which I like the idea of it, but they didn't really explore that idea super well, because they only relegate that to one character. I guess technically two characters, and then like the rest of the Thunderbolts member doesn't really get explored that well, especially with their dark past and all that kind of stuff, because I think it's a missed opportunity, because like I think there is a way for the movie to set up this character and why they are working together, and why they need each other, because I think there is a reason, like they give a reason why this character needs to work together as a team, which I get that, and I kind of like that, but I feel like it doesn't really reach its full potential because they didn't really explore the other characters' mental health problem, and I think that is a huge missed opportunity, because they kind of just there by the end, so it's like, okay, well, I don't know, and they kind of like joke about that, so I'm like, okay, well, I kind of wish you didn't joke about that, because it was a serious problem, but it's the MCU, so what do you expect, right? But yeah, I guess that's my criticism about the movie itself, and I guess a little bit about the post-credit scenes, this is the first time where I was actually feel kind of excited for a post-credit scenes, because like Marvel actually teased something for the future, because a lot of the recent MCU post-credit stuff, like they barely leads to anything, because they just there to for the sake of it, because I don't think Marvel has any idea or has any concrete plan for the futures, or has like a fun idea for the futures, unlike the Infinity War saga with Thanos, because I don't think they're going to replicate that, and yeah, so that's why I think the recent post-credit movie is kinda, it wasn't kinda, it's really pointless, because they lead to nowhere, but I think the post-credit scene in Thunderbolts is actually exciting because it does tease the future of the MCU, which I really like that, and I think a lot of people will kind of discussing the post-credit scenes in the couple of days, when I watch the movie, and I think it's gonna be quite a fun discussion, for the future of the MCU, because again, the post-credit scene actually matter this time around, so I really like that, but yeah, that's Thunderbolts, guys. I think this is like better than Brave New World, and I think people will have will share the same sentiment, where I think this movie will be much better received than Brave New World, but I don't think people will say that this is gonna be a great MCU movie, because I think there is a potential to be great if they actually add more action sequence, and doesn't really, and but again, don't make MCU jokes, please, because I feel like they are getting really old, and I think the way they handle the jokes in this movie is actually quite better, but I feel like they need to really reduce that, in my opinion, and really focusing more on the dramatic parts and the action sequence, because I think they are good, but I feel like they're not really fully explored, and I feel it would be much better if they explore every single Thunderbolts member and having them dealing with their dark past, because I feel like the movie kind of setting up to do that, but they don't really do that, they just do that with Yelena and Bob, so it's really disappointing on that part, so yeah, either way, guys, that's my review for Thunderbolts, guys, let me know, guys, in the comment section below, what do you guys think about this movie right here, do you guys think this movie is better than Brave New World, do you guys like this movie, or do you guys think this is just like a shitty MCU movie, because some people will still think this is pretty shit, but I disagree. I think this is kind of a better movie, but of course it's not the greatest MCU movie, because nothing will replicate the Infinity Saga, but I do think this is like the better MCU product in recent years, in my opinion, so yeah, let me know your opinions in the comment section below, guys, and if you guys enjoyed this video, then make sure to, guys, fight and shoot the subscribe and like button, guys, share the videos to show stuff, and stay tuned for more videos in the future. And again, I hope you guys enjoy this review, and I will see you guys in the next one then. Bye.